now that's what I'm talking about. And the fellas walked out for a second, but look here, we still going. We're going to continue on. We're going to do part 2 of narcissistic behavior, and it starts right now.
3, 2, 1, go!
Thought about it.
I'm just saying,
Let's go.
because there ain't nothing wrong with you wanting to have the best for your child.
Oh, no, definitely
and
not.
giving your child this and that. But there's a balance in all things that are good.
Yeah.
You know, and you if you go about it in a way that you're not informing your child that, hey, but listen, you have to work for this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you don't instill that in them, you know, and let that, it's not gonna always be this.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? If all you do is give, this, Jordans and this and Gucci and everything, you know, they 6 months old and got Gucci slides on.
And that's my baby.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you know, and then when you're not around,
And even dads with our daughters. Go
and
ahead.
you haven't taught them how to get that, they just gonna expect that. You know,
Entitled-
My
now
mom
that's
gave us
entitlement.
all this.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly. Entitlement.
So yeah, they are so full of this narcissistic behavior because it's what you did. It's what you
That's
what
what you
did to
instilled
them.
to them. Yeah.
You know, you didn't provide the proper balance so that
Any-
they didn't have to go through this certain type of issues, you know, because now they're gonna be looking for it all the time. They're gonna be looking for it in their spouses. They're gonna be looking for it in their job. They're gonna be looking for it in their bosses. You know, it's supposed to be given to me because it has been given to me all my life, and that is not how life works.
Too much of anything is not good for you.
Yeah, one thing I wrote about, and you said about a sign of a narcissistic person is feeling they deserve privileges and special treatment. What you just said, doing a child like that, some children, and when they get older, they're gonna feel that the world is supposed to go work a double shift just to get them some joy.
Get them some.
You know what I'm saying? They gonna feel like that they supposed to have special treatment, when we do that to kids, because I love parents who make kids share. I love parents who make kids love on the younger sister, the younger brother.
Yep.
But when you got that one child that's raised and everything is prepared for them, everything's covered, everything's about them, and all this kind of stuff, they grow up selfish, selfless, and even in making a decision, it's always about them, and that's a person who will lack empathy.
Correct me if I'm wrong in my thinking, because we're speaking to our fellas. That behavior as a child may be part of the reason why you're incarcerated, because growing up, you got everything that you wanted without working for it. So as you got to a certain age, that stopped happening. So you decided to go out here and just take it. And now you're behind bars.
Incarceration is a fruit of the root
of narcissism,
of a seed that was planted by somebody somewhere.
Mhm.
It could have been
Not
a parent.
everybody.
It could have been the older OGs in the hood. But whatever. Even that, I'm glad you brought that up because now it kind of changes your perspective on it. Even when you sit on your bunk, or when you get out of prison, you start rehabilitating your life. You have to look at what is causing this fruit. Because a lot of times, you know what we do, and when you go back to saying when you were saying about men that as young boys, how many girlfriends you got? So we taught to manipulate people, women. We taught to gather and keep a bunch of women around for whatever reason. And when we get older and we want to commit, and I'm gonna get back to the felons, we want to commit. It's hard to
because you're so used to
because of the root that's in us. And what a lot of us do, a lot of men do, when they get to that point where they finna commit, we start sending out texts. Hey, you know, I'm finna, you know what I'm saying? We can't do this no more, finna change my life. We start blocking numbers. We stop doing this. We stop doing that. And really, all we doing is walking up to the tree and that fruit that say womanizer, we grab it and pull it off and throw it away.
But that root
But you know what's gonna happen when that season come back
it
around?
regrow.
That same fruit is gonna grow again.
Regrow.
And I'm not. I know Duval and them had this thing, black men don't cheat.
Yeah.
I'm not creating a cop-out space, but even men who have a problem with being faithful, it's bigger than just, I'm a dog. There's something rooted in me, and I've been trying, because a lot of us, even men that are unfaithful when they get into relationships and somewhere down the line, they try to be faithful, and they try to get rid of women. But as they pick the fruit, and didn't touch the root, that thing came back. And like I said, I'm not making an excuse, and I'm not justifying being unfaithful.
Speaking truth.
But it's bigger than I am a dog. There's a seed that was planted in me, as you talked about from when I was younger, And it has resulted into me having a problem with this. So now, we got to get somebody to kind of sponsor us when they come to therapy, because I'm going to say, now you got to get the deep work. But go ahead.
Well, and real quick on the unfaithfulness part, what makes it multiply, what makes it even as hard is because the person was never the seed of faithfulness was never implemented in them. It was never planted in them.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I'm saying?
Multiple
so when you don't
taught.
know it,
you just don't.
When you
learn it on your own at 25.
When you get to the point where you try to, I see how things can be better if I'm faithful. And again, not making no excuses. No, it's got the thing. Not making no excuses for it. It's hard, but when you
go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I got it. But you have to understand that when these seeds are implanted and put it in you from an early age, it's a struggle.
Yeah,
it's a life struggle.
But you're gonna revert back to what you know.
Yeah.
When something comes up that you don't know how to deal with, and you don't have an outlet to really lean on, you're gonna revert back to what you know.
So fathers, uncles, and we finna shift back to the fellas in a minute. Fathers, uncles. Now it's time to be aware
of what we're teaching our young men,
of what we're doing to our nephews and our sons. Like I found myself last year, the year before, one of my sons, Mundigler, had a little girlfriend and everything. So, I was on the phone and everything. And I had a talk with him because I thought about all the mistakes I made, multiple women. And I told him, I say, bro, keep that one girlfriend. If she ain't enough, before you get another one, you need to stop, your dealings with her. When I could have easily just, just pushing the way that we was pushed. Like, like some people tell people, and this is what they tell, some people tell people like, oh, you too young. You're going to meet so many people in your life, and so don't really commit to this. Mm-hmm. Not even knowing that's a seed that's planted of telling somebody you ain't got to be faithful at. So see what's all out there before you decide to be faithful. When really you should be teaching them, when you make a choice, be faithful to that choice. If that choice ain't working out, you close that chapter. You make a different choice, be faithful to that choice. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I wish I would have been taught growing up. You know what I'm saying? Then I would have had a different view on relationships and women. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just trying to gather in whatever I can gather in. And
not just your sons, your daughters too.
Yeah,
I mean,
more so your
I'm
daughters.
I'm gonna show you an example.
I was trying not to talk about that.
I'm gonna show you an example with your daughters. Because some of us guys, when we out there doing our thing, we
come
think
back on
we
your
doing
daughter
good because we got our daughter with us, but now we gonna take our daughter with us when we go see this girl, when we go see that girl, when we go see that girl. I think we getting brownie points or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking now. Your daughter might be 9 or 10. You know what I'm saying? So now she's seeing
daddy going all the different houses.
Daddy got this. So it's okay for me to be that girl.
I have never done that.
When it's not. You know what I'm saying? When it's not okay to be that girl. You know what I'm saying? So you have to set the example. And it's so crazy now with social media, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just so much stuff that goes on that we didn't have to worry. I didn't have to worry.
And I was just going to say that when you think about kids these days, because it took a while for me to understand it, because I talking to my son, I'd be like, man, but these kids have way more to deal with than we had growing up.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't feel like they have a safe space to have that conversation, so they deal with it on their own, and that's how the suicide and all that come up. But
and
a
then
personal,
it rolls all the way back around to that. So,
But I have a personal
excuse me.
Point to make when you were talking about your son. And me and you just had this conversation a week ago. One of my oldest left to go to the military, and before he left, me and my brother-in-law had that conversation with him. Man, you finna go to the military. You getting ready to go to Korea. You went overseas. Don't settle down. You're gonna have multiple women that you can do whatever you want to do with. You ain't real. You ain't grown. You 18, 19. Go have fun. Thanks be to God, he decided to do the total opposite. and settle down. So proud father moment. Then I had to reevaluate the conversations that I had with him in the past, and kind of a little upset that I wasn't able to have the conversation with him before he decided to take the next step that he did. But when he came home for this past Christmas, me and him had a whole totally different conversation, because I've seen some of the characteristics of how he was acting. Even though he decided to do one thing, his actions showed another. So, like my bro said, you have to have that conversation. You can't be your child's friend. That ain't what God put us here for. We're here to be their parent.
Mm-hmm.
So, I almost cuss. Don't worry about them liking you. Make sure that they respect you enough to know that when they're not around you, the representation of you carries on with them.
Correct. And so can I shift it?
Yeah, and in your business, you
Bro,
always do.
Are you
Yeah,
finna
no,
jump on
go
that?
ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So now this is where the whole podcast shifts. Now we got to be real. So now let's talk to the fathers first. I think now we've just initiated a call to go back and revisit the way we raised our sons, the way we raise our nephews, and things like that.
And the young male in your life.
We might need to. Is rehab a word? No, HAVE. We might need to have a different conversation to
revisit that conversation.
Yeah, revisit. That's right.
Got to revisit
We
that
might need to
conversation.
revisit some things we talked about, and we might need to have a different conversation to counter some of the previous conversations that we had. And I don't care. Like, even like I got a son almost 30. Like, now when I leave here, I got this, and this is what we call doing the work. There's people who really want to change. Now I got to go back and think about when I look at I got a son who hustles. You know what I'm saying? But I remember when my son was young, I brought my son to the trap.
To the spot.
Yeah. If my son was here, he could say the first trap I ever been to was with my daddy. I remember
Taking the Disney World, you took it to the
I
trap.
took it to the trap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we was getting it in at. At Disney World, you got Disney World. I remember one time, and if him and his mama was here, and if they watch this, they gonna know what I'm talking about. But this how transparent I'm being. I can't go.
No, you can't. It's over. That's your limitation
I
way
was
over.
cutting up some peppermints
Mm-hmm.
at his mama house, and you know the peppermints be hard. And I guess when I cut it, it popped
up.
and one of them popped off the plate on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know it. So I got my peppermints and went and gave candy to people. But my baby mama called me and say, you know, your son found one of your peppermints, and he was like, I got one of daddy peppermints. So now, like I'm thinking about, is a lot of the fruit that's in one of my son's life
You planted.
is a result of the seed that I planted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that means now, and honestly, like I got to have a conversation with him. I got to apologize, and I got to have a conversation with him, you know what I'm saying, about my intention at that time and what his intention need to be now. You know, and I'm just saying to fathers, to nephews, fathers and uncles to nephews.
Father figures.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Coaches.
We're going to hit the girl side too, but
Yeah.
Coaches.
This is a challenge coming from FAF Podcast that you revisit some of those conversations that you had with your sons and your nephews. To look at your son's life now,
Right.
and stop and don't look at it from like I used to look at it because I wanted my son to get in the business and all that, and I looked at it from like he just ain't ready. It's just too easy out there. Stop looking at it like that and say my seed possibly caused that fruit. So instead of me trying to have them conversations on the phone and just pick the fruit, because I don't say stuff like, son, just stop hustling, take that money. And that's picking the fruit.
You take your shovel.
That's just picking the fruit.
And have a conversation.
We need to dig up this root.
Mm-hmm. Take your shovel and have that conversation.
And I need to talk about what was going on in my life for me to even bring him there. I need to talk about mentally where I was at when I was, you know what I'm saying? So that's a challenge to the men. And this for people who really want to see change, be successful, and make their life and make other people's life better. So that's a challenge. You know what I'm saying? And if you got kids that got that type of fruit.
And speaking on what the podcast pastor's saying, that doesn't that doesn't mean you're making an excuse if you're going to be real about the situation. Because some of us had to do what we did at that time, and some of us really didn't have to do it. We just did it because we seen our peers do it. So if you're going to have that conversation, be real about why you did what you did, that planted that seed in them that you're trying to uproot and change.
Yeah. And the same thing go with daughters, those of us who, and I have to do some thinking about this, but it makes me, I have to spend some time, pull away and some time thinking like, what type of seeds have I planted in my girls? You know what I'm saying? Just and even like how I was a dad who never really talked on the phone much. So even when one of my daughters, we had a discussion about this when we went out, and she said one of the issues I had with you, Dad, because she had moved out of St. Pete, she was like, you wouldn't talk on the phone long. And you know what that meant? To her, I wasn't interested
You weren't interested in nothing she was doing.
You know what I'm saying? So on the flip side, now I'm thinking on the flip side, that could make a daughter grow up to build a heart callous on their heart towards men, because she think men like that and are not interested in her, or it could cause her to be a quote unquote needy type of person, that because I never shown any interest. Anybody that shows me interest,
I'm accepting.
She jumping in and out on that ride. You know what I'm saying? So and it's a lot to think about, and I'm glad we went this way, because now our audience, as a parent, we got to think about like really stop. I seen something on social media, they saying listen and no judge or something.
Live with whatever.
So we got to stop. We got to stop as a parent judging and knowing, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got to start looking at, okay, the things that are in my child's life is a result of some stuff that was planted. Nobody creates a new evil. Nobody creates a new, you know what I'm saying? That's why they say nothing new under the sun. What we did, generation before us did, generation after us gonna do. So everything about a person, every fruit that's on a person's tree come from somewhere. And we got to pray and ask God to show us.
What's the sermon of it?
To show us what we may be the cause of, and then to give us the confidence, give us the boldness
and the strength
to deal with that. Yeah, because it's just something as simple as bringing acknowledgement to, you know what I'm saying? Just I don't know, because now this is a real moment. This ain't nothing that we prepped in pride, but this is some work that needs to be done as a parent.
And the
no
thing about
that,
that conversation might release some branches off of our tree also that we haven't got rid of just because we haven't had that conversation.
Could be.
So, but this went way
not to the felons.
This went totally different.
Okay. So now let's talk to the felons for a few minutes. To those incarcerated and those who are no longer incarcerated. Start looking at. I need you to start looking at your life as a tree with fruit. So even you in prison over sales and possession, that's a fruit. Armed robbery, that's a fruit. Whatever your charge is a fruit that is a result of a seed that took root in your life. So, and that's why I was trying to say earlier, at some point, some behavioral development therapy place gonna have to start taking some sponsorship here, because once you reach a certain age, you need somebody that's skillful in taking you on a journey where you can
revisit those
your past. You know? And I say redial because when you dial, you pulling up a dial turns and pulls up something. So you got to get somebody to get your mind turning and can ask you some questions about growing up and this and that there, so you can identify what type of root you got. Because some of us could have grafted trees where there's so many different fruit. Somebody got a mango tree, can say, okay, I got a mango seed. They can look up Google, how do you kill a mango tree? Cool. But when somebody got a tree that got multiple fruits, like a lot of us, like I have, you know what I'm saying? I got to be able to figure out how to kill the root. And even if I don't kill the root, how to prevent it from producing fruit in my life. You know what I'm saying? Because like I think about when Paul, when it said he went to the third heaven, this was in Corinthians, and said he went to God and he had a thorn in his flesh, and it was causing him pain. And it said he asked God 3 times to remove that thorn from his flesh. And that book tells us that God's response to him was, my grace is sufficient for thee. Like, I'm not going to remove everything that hurts, everything that brings discomfort in your life. Because some stuff I have to leave there to keep you within the boundaries that you determine you need to set to make sure you're doing right. So the root may not go nowhere, So we may have to figure out how do we prevent the root from continuing to
Reproducing.
produce fruit. Stop pulling the fruit off, because when that season roll back around,
It's gonna
that
grow
plum
again.
gonna grow again. But now we got to start figuring out how to prevent the root from producing more fruit, because the root is what's narcissistic, which came from a seed somehow that was sown in our life from somebody or something else, which becomes a behavior that spouses and people we live with have to deal with.
Cap it off. Use our jargon. We're gonna cap it off. We'll leave it in the ground, but we're gonna cap it off.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say, yeah. I'm gonna say, I'm out. I'm spent.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
But I'm glad, and I'm quite sure people who watch this is completely different from a lot of trending narcissistic talk. And that's what I love about this podcast, how we open our lives up and we open for the topic to take us wherever it needs to take us. And once again, we talked about some parenting as a father, as an uncle, to sons, to daughters.
As a mentor.
And even as a felon.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Looking at your charge as the fruit of something that's taking root, or something that was planted at some point in your life. And go see somebody, talk with somebody, figure out how to dial up back in that time when, like you said, tell us, how many girlfriends you got? You know what I'm saying? When you had that conversation, you dialed back in my mind, and I remember. But now I know how to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? But that's it for me. This Coach Chuck, Big Bro Los, and Smurfy, y'all go ahead and handle it.
I'm good. I mean, but I also want to say real quick, and it doesn't necessarily have to be planted at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
You can develop narcissism
now,
right now, And I can give you a real quick example. Like wealth and power.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen people that may have went to the NFL, or whatever sport. You know what I'm saying?
Whatever it is, but
and now they came across a lot of money.
nah,
It don't change everybody, but a lot of
change a lot of them, bro.
now they're here.
Yeah.
And
High
not saying
horse.
that you can't enjoy
Your fruits of your labor.
what you earn,
Mhm.
but when you start using it to lower everybody else around you, there you
still
go.
have to be humble.
You know what I'm saying?
That's come from the seed of narcissism.
Power. It can come from power. You could start a business, and
It
it goes
booms.
into it booms,
Mhm.
and now you the king
Prosper.
CEO,
Mhm.
But once again, those that helped you get there,
Don't
now you're
forget
looking
about
down
it,
on
yeah.
them. They down on your level.
And now you got your private school, public school, where because your business booming, you segregate. Now let me tell you how the world waters that narcissism seed root. You segregate yourself because you know what the world tell you, because you got so much money. You got to run with people who on the level you on.
Yeah.
And that's what the world, and it's some truth to that. And certain say,
Right, yeah.
don't be the smartest one in your circle.
Right.
Sometimes you need to have a circle that you are the smartest one,
Absolutely.
so you can help them become
Right.
where you made it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that and to top that, a seed of narcissism is planted through social media.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's planted through sermons. Oh, you got all that. Because we live in that point now, because like when people have been given so much all their life, and we tell people, you do everything for everybody else and you don't do anything for yourself. And we tell, I don't heard it in sermons and everything. Now you in a season where you got to be selfish, which is okay from the aspect of now you got to make some decisions that's going to better you and do some things for you. Stop subtracting from you on a consistent basis to build other people up, which I understand that. But if you're not careful, this social media had you thinking it's F everybody and all about me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not careful, that seed will become a root and it will produce a fruit in your life. You know what I'm saying? And that's just a tag on how you say it had to happen when it could be it could be a post and you admire something about this fake life that you don't see and that you think somebody living, and then now you poison. And there's something been planted in you because you think that's what it takes to have what you saw. And what you saw ain't even real.
FAF family out there,
What? Nah, I'm in my home.
y'all have to be careful when you looking at all these social media sites and you following these certain people. In the process of watching it and discovering whatever they doing and how they got to get there, you still have to continue to educate yourself. You have to do that. It can go the wrong way real fast. What they say, 0 to 100 real quick? Real quick. And it's hard to get off of it then.
Just want to kind of backtrack to, if you are very intentional about having this conversation, be it parent to child, whatever it is, kind of, if you don't mind, kind of sit down with that person and use this platform as far as this one, this session today, as your go-to first.
As a conversation starter.
Because you don't want to have that conversation and allow that person to use the narcissistic behavior and turn it on you to say, oh, because you're pouring your heart out to them and expressing to them why some of the things they may have done, you feel it's because of what you planted in them, that they don't take accountability for them doing the thing and turn around and say, oh, I'm in this position because of what you planted in me. So use this platform and this podcast today to sit down and, like my bro said, have a conversation started so you both can sit down and see what we're talking about, so the conversation can be genuine and you both can be heard on both sides.
That's so good. We ought to end it on that. Coach Smurfs just say, if you need to talk to your son, you need to talk to your nephew, you need to talk to your daughter, sit down, watch this podcast with them, and it will itself organically start that conversation. Watch it. If you got somebody, if you got somebody you need to have that talk with, tell them, hey, I want us to watch something together, and then let it go from there. I love that. That's good. Fellas Ain't Failures Podcast. We love y'all. Peace.
Happy New Year. We out.
3, 2, 1, go!